This is CTD Among Blacks. We bridging the gaps. Hello, hello, hello. This is Ruby ETK, and we're back with another audio late night talks with CTD Among Blacks. And I'll be your co host today. And right here we have the Odogu of CTD Among Blacks. So, yeah, now. So right here I have with me Oyebanji Akins, and I'm gonna pass it over to him to let him introduce himself.
All right, now thank you very much, Ruby ETK. He's the Yoruba for me now, Odogu himself. Like that's dope. That's dope. Thank you very much for wherever you might be that you're listening to us. Taking out of no time to want to get to listen to this particular late night talk episode that we're having. And like you already heard, Ruby ETK is gonna co-host. I'm gonna be the one on the spotlight for this particular episode. While she's gonna be asking us, asking me some questions. And this particular episode is really dedicated to knowing who is Oyebanji Akins. So if you want to get to know me, or you think you've known me, basically about some things, this is another opportunity for you to know some new things you might not know about where I am, what I'm heading to, and my goal and my plan, the pain, if I want to share that part, and and the ups and downs in where we are right now. So I'll be passing, giving the podium to Ruby ETK while we get into the Q and E, if I'm saying it right, Q and A. Oh, sorry, my bad, Q and A. Sorry for that. Yeah, Q and A questions, and back to you, Ruby ETK.
So we're gonna put you in the red seat, hot seat.
All right, no sweat. I'm ready for it.
Okay, no pressure, no pressure. So, as we all know you, Oyebanji Akins, aka O2 Fresh.
You already know now.
So, as we know you, well, I personally know you as when you was doing your clothing brand, African Root Store. And you had some dope t-shirts, some nice ass hoodies, and very comfortable ass 2-piece sets. And that's how I know you. And now you're very big. Let me just put it at that. You're very big.
I'm not big.
No, you get Wikipedia, everything. That's why when they say Odogu
I'm not
in the
big.
beginning.
The goal is to be more bigger than that, actually.
Yeah. So I just want you to let our listeners know how you came up with the name Oyebanji Akins.
Oh, thank you very much for that question. I'm gonna pick you from this part. You talk about my clothing brand, and I got some 2-piece, some dope outfit. And shout out to all the celebrities that was able to put it on for me in Nigeria. I really appreciate it, and I'm very, very thankful for that. And it's something I don't take for granted. And I think those are the things that really motivate me to become this name. So how do I come up with the name was, first of all, Oyebanji is the name given to me by my grandpa, and there's a reason behind it. And I don't want to give all that details in this particular episode, the reason behind it. But I got to a time in my life where I started telling myself, what is that one thing that I have that make me different from everybody? I'm from a Christian home where we always have this conversation saying everybody have their own talent. So it's all about understanding your talent. And I think I've been a stubborn guy, boy, anyhow you want to call it. And in the pursuit of all this being stubborn, we changed my life. And I get to a point I was so mad about myself. And I started telling myself there should be something that make me stand out. I've went through so much pain, and I started telling myself, like, there should be something that will make me stand out. What is that thing that I can channel my thoughts, my pain, my struggles, my happiness that will make me different? So I wasn't really talented in so many things, but I came from a home where we really appreciate artwork. And when I mean artwork, while I was a baby and when I was young, I started seeing things in the wall. So I'm this fan of artworks. I can see things that could speak to me in art form. When people draw a picture, I could look at a picture and tell you the message you might be saying in my own way, and it always makes sense to me. So I've had this when I was a child. So when I grew up and I realized things was going hard, I was just in a state of my life where I will use the word I've been stabbed so many times, and I started realizing that there's no way you're a good person and you keep getting stabbed. there's something I'm not doing right.
Mm.
It can't be everybody is bad. So there's something I might be doing. And that's how, there was a day I was just sitting in my house. I'm like, you know what? Every social media I have, I want to protect something and recreate my own way. And I picked up my grandpa, that the name he gave me, and I cut half of my last name and I put an S into it. So when I put an S into it, I try to Google it online. Which this is one thing I did back in the days. Like I started checking who has that name. Is there anybody big enough that have honed that name? Is there somebody using Oyebanji Akins? So I was able to see Oyebanji different names, but I see Oyebanji Akin actually, but there's no S. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put S, and what I mean by the S that I added to it, that means for every member of my family. So if you find if you're sharing the same last name and I cut it in half, the S signifies that you're part of me. So that's something I created when I did it with no hope I'm gonna be where I am today. So I think I already have that name. If I'm correct, I was already in the United States when I did it. I think it should be 2016 or 2017. So that was how the name comes into play. Since then, I've honed that name, and I started telling myself that every social media that I have, I want them to have a one single name. Even though I don't know what it's going to be or how it's going to go, I just want to start to be calling myself with a one name, so that when you check me online in any places, this is what the name you're going to see. And that's how my Snap, my TikTok. The only thing I didn't change is my Facebook, because my Facebook didn't allow me to keep that name like that. But I've had my Facebook for a very long time, so I couldn't change the name. But my Instagram become Oyebanji Akins, and I think that's how the name become strong. And after a while, when I started into DJ, I was trying to create another name. I was tempted to take Oyebanji Akins down, but I was like, nah. Irrespective of whatever name I'm going to call myself, that Oyebanji is going to be the name I'm keeping to become a stamp of myself. So I don't want to take that name off. Even though I was being called Fresh or Too Fresh, so many names that have been given to me, but I just feel like that's my identity. That's what I want the world to know me for. And there was a time my dad even asked me and said, why are you keeping this kind of name? I said, I come from a part in Nigeria where we kind of a little bit believe in voodoo. So I said, if anybody want to catch me online, that's the name they're going to use. And you don't even going to get to know my real name. And I feel like that kind of protects my identity to some level. So that's how the name comes into play.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. So, as we talked about earlier, you said you was very into art when you was a kid. So, I mean, how did your family play in a role in that art field that you was interested in?
Okay, so I was being lucky to spend the time with my grandparents, both my grandparents, my mother's side and my dad's side. I didn't get to spend enough time with my grandmom, my mom's side, but my father's side, I was able to experience both ways. And I'm this kid that every time there's a break time for school, kids, I was being taken down to my grandpa's place. So being around my grandpa's place is like, my grandpa is more like a king, actually. I'm gonna put it like that. So people come around. And there's this way my grandpa instilled some things in my mind. I can't even explain it. And I think it's from my countryside I started having the love for art. And when I mean art, we have a very big land where you see all this real raw things that I don't think I would see. And that was then my grandpa again started giving me this confidence, like, when you're a kid, you get scared of darkness. And this is a place where you don't even see no light, nothing. They use all this I wonder if it's a candle, is red oil with a cloth. That's how they power the lights in the night. So he was building all those things, and that's when I started telling me, like, all these animals listen to you, all these leaves listen to you. It's how you build your confidence that they will listen. So when I was younger, I always like, nah, I'm not about to go in the darkness. Like, no matter what is coming in the darkness, you're the living human thing. They will run away from you. If you don't go for them, they don't go for you. So from there is where I got this artistic part of me. I was very stubborn kid, like I said. My dad sent me to when my dad started realizing that I could read things from the wall, like just staying in my wall when I was young. I can carve anything, I can draw anything out. That makes no sense. But when I see it, it's like I have my own demon time when I was young. When I say demon time, it's like I have a problem with sleeping in the night. I always have these bad dreams a lot. So sometimes when I'm awake, I could see those things in the wall. So it becomes art for me. It becomes instead of seeing it as a pain, it becomes something that I could see good thing out of it. I don't know, maybe that makes sense. So my dad make me to go for learning how to carve. I can mold, I can carve. Like if you give me any big tree, I have all my instruments still in my father's house, and I can draw. So my dad starts seeing that part of me becomes me when I was young. Now the funniest thing is this though. That's been me when I was young, but I was ashamed to tell the world, like, because I grew up in a city where when you said you want to go to art class, they feel like you're the dullard. And I don't want to be the dullard, you understand? So I try to stay between finance and account. But the real truth is for me to be in artwork, to run my mouth, to do, I'm just this guy that always want to make people smile, happy in my own little way. So my parents has been a backbone that allowed me to really go in depth into it, even though I didn't believe in it myself. My dad has been instilling the idea in me, and there's shout out to Mr. Saburi that gave me this art. There's back home. There's this man. I have this art workplace that I carve, he mold, he do a lot of things. So I went there. Like I think I spent like 3 years with them. Yeah. So that was where I have this artistic more of understanding art through drawing. So, and my grandpa was into musical, like having his own band where they sing, and my dad was into a couple of movies in Nigeria, and my dad is very, very into theater art, and he was a director in cultural and tourism in Nigeria and in my country, in my state. So having all those things has been something we have in the blood. Like it's something where we just naturally do. And my dad used to do something they call Ewi. Ewi is like, I don't know how to say it in English. It's just like when you recite people's accolades in some kind of way where people will be so happy and they just spend money to you. So that's something my dad has have. And in my own house, my dad is a preacher. We all play instrument. So if I don't play drums, I know how to do akuba. If I don't know how to do akuba, I can sing. I'm this guy I've been with a couple of woman bands, just going out there to make some money. So art, music, theater art of trying to act the movies, things like that is just in my blood. And I've always seen myself around those things. When people look at movies in another way, I'm seeing in another way. When you listen to music, how I interpret music since I was young is because I write secondary school days, I write letters out of music. So I've always been inspired by just listening to music. So that's something where my family has really, really been. I think it's just in our blood, actually. It's just something I just stumble into. It's something that is I feel like it's maybe, I don't know, generation to generation. So you've
always had that upbringing in that art.
And my mom's side too. Yeah, my mom was a chorister in church, so that part of us is just being this. My dad is a preacher. My mom is a chorister. I have uncles that are into the things like that. In my father's side, a lot. My father's side is more strong in artwork. Like my dad has found himself around things that has to do with theater. He's been around a couple of places. So it's something I grew up seeing my dad, and having to have the story of my grandpa, and spending time with him was something I've already have, but I didn't value it all those years. I didn't put too much of. I'll find myself where I am right now. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Where we're getting to know you, we're getting there.
All right. Thank you. I don't know. You kind of make me talk about things I didn't even expect I would talk about my life.
Yeah. Well, when you want to talk about who you are, you always talk about your foundation and how you got it from,
Thank you for that.
The other question I got for you is, like I said earlier, we know you through your clothing brand, African Root Store. What made you change from the clothing brand of art to the Twitter, to the podcast, to the YouTubes, to all other hustles? Let me put it at that.
Hustle.
Yeah. What made you change to that? What inspired you every day?
That's a good question, and I'm glad you asking me that question. I'm very glad for that, and that kind of draw me back memory lane. I never want to do a clothing line, and how my clothing line started was through a family I regard as my family in America down here, and through a friend of mine. I went down to, immediately I got to America, actually. Like I always tell people, let me give you a quick story about that. So my parent sent me to, I'm calling it the white school in Nigeria. And going to white school, which is more privileged, having everything, I'm living in the middle class area. it's something where I've always want to ask questions like, why am I different? Like, why do some kids being put on one side and some other kids being put on this side? And that's question I couldn't get an answer to. I think till I started doing my podcast. That's when everything changed. And what I'm trying to say is this. Excuse me. See, when I got to America, I've stayed a couple of times in Asia. And when I got to America, it gave me the privilege of start asking a question like, these are the people that they've told us a lot of things about. So every American I meet, I'm always asking them questions. And the question I ask is about, what do you think about how the system is treating African American and African? So I'm not asking them to judge them. And most of the time, they're happy to tell me things that they don't even think they will talk about, but they just find themselves talking about it because nobody ever asked them that question. So when I asked those questions, I started enjoying it. And what I told myself was, I think it's high time for me to have my YouTube. So I talked to a couple of my friends, my friend's girlfriend about it back then in 2017, if I'm correct. And I kind of told them like, when I'm ready, I'm gonna get my mic, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna like put it out there, and that didn't happen. And I still think if I go online right now, there's still a YouTube video that I dropped. The first time I ever talk about, I was going through some things and I was just running my mouth saying this, that. But jump to the clothing line. I met my friend and my friend took me to her mom and I explained the same thing. I was asking her mom the question about, what is that thing that make you different being African American? And she was happy because I asked. And she said, and I told her, I said, ma'am, I'm trying to have my podcast. No, I remember I said YouTube page. And she asked me a question. She said, what's there about? I said, I titled it, A Black Man from a Black Continent with Big Dreams. And she was like, wow, that's nice. How do you come up with that? I said, because I believe I'm a black man from a black continent with big dreams. I found myself in America and I want to ask questions about people that have been here before me. And she was like, you know what? I'm into clothing. I'm going to make you a shirt. And I've never realized how shirt can, like a t-shirt can be made. I don't know. I just know people make it, but I've never found myself around people doing it. I've seen some people doing it in Nigeria, but how we do it in Nigeria is not like how she was able to do it. So when she went ahead and cut it out and do it, I'm like, dang, Jesus Christ. And that was COVID time. So I'm like, you know what? I like this kind of idea of something like this. And she was like, oh, I could teach you. I could let you know. I could tell you what to buy. And you can start making your own shit, and how you're telling your story, it might even push. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna make some clothes and I'll put it on my YouTube so that people can buy. Now I didn't understand nothing about YouTube. I didn't understand nothing about podcasts. But when I went back home to Houston, and this is in Louisiana, shout out to Kalita anyway, she might be right now. So she was able to give me that shirt and I was very, very happy about it. So I went back home, I thought about it, and boom, I found myself on Instagram where PDD was talking about, if you don't have something to achieve in this COVID time, then forget about it. Because you have every time now to think about what you want to become and go for it, because you're not leaving the house, you can't go nowhere. What is really stopping you from not going after what you want to become? And that kind of hit me by saying, you know what, this is the time, man. There's no time anymore. If I'm having this time, I'm not really hustling. Government was giving us some stipend that cover some bills. I'm like, okay, you know what, this is the time. And that's how I started putting my energy into it. I made my first clothes with a picture, and I'm not gonna lie, I sold people that was able to buy it, if I'm correct, I think $750 or $450. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, this is money. And most of my friends start asking like, how do you do this? How do you come about this? And I started explaining. I started seeing people coming around, and boom, that's how I found myself, running into the business of starting my own clothing line, registered a name. And when I started, it wasn't like there was money in my account or I have the money. I was just believing like it's going to happen. So getting into it, I was able to get some loans, and, I put it in my clothing line, and I realized I lost everything. And I lost everything because I was getting into the business as a Nigerian in America. America don't use cash. They use credit. So for me, being a Nigerian, what we do back home is we use cash to do anything we want to do. So running into a business with a cash in America is not going to help you if you really understand what I'm saying. Now, anybody that might listen to this particular episode might not understand if you haven't went through it. But those that have built credit will understand what I was saying. So coming into a country with a capitalist market that I don't understand, how I was approaching it, I was just losing money. And the idea of going into clothing line wasn't what I really, really, really know. So I'm gonna have an MBA in business administration doesn't mean I understand the nitty gritty of the clothing line. So I was making enough waves to the level where some celebrity in Nigeria was able to have my clothing and they put it on and put it where people were seeing it. I was happy, and I think I was that time I paused. And the reason why I paused was, like I said, if I can get to the level where an A artist can wear my clothing in Nigeria, it's now about branding. So it was a wrong move for me to make, but I had to make it because then people are like, you got to capitalize on this, you got to capitalize on this. But fortunately for me, I said, then I'm already at my minus in my account. So I couldn't further to go as I was supposed to go. Now, as at that time, I've understand everything I'm supposed to do. But then I'm in a little bit of something I can't even cope. So that made me to tell myself, like, okay, if you can't move forward, you could call it a pause. That doesn't mean everything comes to an end. And that is how I paused my clothing line and, jump into DJ. I started telling myself, like, okay, now that you don't got no money again and people don't want to know, you got to hustle. And through a friend of mine, DJ Kulo, kind of trained me out to be a DJ. Within 2-3 months, I said I'm ready to start making mix. It was like, no, bro, you don't. I'm like, I'm definitely ready because I got to make this money. And shout out to Okwe, my friend, Okwe Ashakia, like I always call him. He opened his own house, and I said, bro, I got to come play your house. Like, I don't want no DJ. I said, you want. This is the most. And, from there, and I pick it up where I started getting shows. I moved from somebody that I don't even think I'll make $200 to where I'm making more than $1,000. And then I did my show, and when I did my first show with a couple of some brothers that I supported last year, it went sideways in trusting people with money. And I think in my journey of Oyebanji Akins, I've learned a lot to realize that not everybody you meet that want to help, you should allow to help you. Because some people are only helping you because of what they can get out of it. And that kind of motive will cut you short of where you're going if you're not very, very careful. I'll repeat again, not everybody that comes to you that want to help you to get to where you're going, you should jump on it, because some help is not meant for you. It's meant for them to climb you. So if you're not careful, they will think the grace you carry is something they can take away from you. And if you allow them, you're back to square one, and they might go, they might not, but guess what? They've spoiled that particular journey you're going through, and a lot of people doesn't know how to start all over again, and that's the problem. So when that happened to me, I went through a lot of pain, and I think that's what got me to the name Oyebanji Akins being on Google. Because I've been a DJ, put all my sweat, going into clothing line, mismanaging that. It's like I lost everything I think I have. And, I started losing my personal properties, and in the sense that the world doesn't even know. I started selling my things just because I want to stay loop. And I was at the point where I don't give a fuck. And, losing my life where I passed out 2 times within 6 months changed everything about me. The second time when I passed out was when I told myself, like, okay, what if I died and I didn't come back? So why am I still being scared of everything I want? Like, what is really stopping you? Because if you can go to the level where you leave this world for like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes and you don't know what the hell is going on, and when I'm back, I have a big cut in my head. And that was when I told myself, like, okay, you know what? I got to start living my own life, not because I got to respect people. And that's what changed. And, I found myself finding a way I was so much in pain about what everybody have done, and I couldn't find an answer to it because I was so in pain. I couldn't know how to process it at all. I'm always having this block part of me that I was so much into, like, why do people do this? Not knowing, like, I'm the one putting myself to people to do that. So along the line, I started expressing myself on Twitter. Like, I don't have any other place to express myself. I have an Instagram, but I don't feel like I want to use it. So when I went to Twitter, I started just expressing every day. I sometimes 2 times, 3 times I tweet. And along that line, I found a brother that reached out to me. I said, bro, you got some content, like, why don't you allow somebody to work with you? Because what you're saying are things people can learn from. Like, I could feel like you're going through a lot, and how you say it is very positive way that the world should know. And I said, okay, that's cool. And, that's last year, I think if I'm right, that was last year, March or April. And if I'm correct, I only have like 4 followers, actually. And they connected me with this particular team company, and they were like, okay, they will start helping me in pushing my brand and stuff like that. And that gets to where I am now, where I have a team of people that work in making things easy for me, that do the research, and all I do now is bringing out my pain in a positive way. And what I said in a positive way is I don't believe anybody's perfect in my own world. I don't even see people being perfect. But I realize that if you can find a way to tell people how they feel without not trying to hurt their feelings, they'll be more listening to you than you trying to hurt their feelings. And that's how the name Oyebanji becomes a well-known name in Google, on Twitter.
Okay. We're getting there. So one thing I would like to ask you or say in a statement of what you just said would be, like you said, everybody that you meet in your life is not supposed to go all the way to the next level with you.
Yeah.
Like you said, and on your past episodes, I've heard you say for every
connection there's intention.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, as you said all of that, and as you expressed all the stuff that you went through from your clothing brand to how you express your pain through Twitter, and all that, the other question I would like to really ask you is, how do you deal with people? So whenever you post anything, it could be for somebody big like you, it could be for anybody regular. When you post something, there's always going to be two types of people, which are, they'll give you good comments or they will give you bad comments. So when the good comments come, how do you take that to your next post? How do you perceive that?
That's funny because I don't think ever since I started posting when I become going viral, I've ever seen like I'm big. And I've never really go in depth to really, really reading what people say, and that's the truth. I don't think I really, part of my team member would tell me like, okay, you know what, bro, you got to go back there, you got to reply a couple of people, you got to go through it. And I won't lie, the first week that I started getting like 5,000 impression and people started writing stuff, it gets to me at first. I'm not gonna lie, because people were saying, I won't mention the name of the person that I went to go and comment something on the page, and they come for me so hard that I was scared. They were cursing my mom, saying all the bad things. Man, I left my phone for like 2 days, man. I'm like, so the team member that I work with, which his name is Raps, was like, bro, when they don't talk about you, that means you're not doing nothing. Yep. He said, you see when they talk bad, that means they like you. I said, that doesn't make sense. He said, yeah. He said, it was like, Twitter is not a place where the people show love. He said, how they show love is by saying bad things about you. That's how you know, like, you really, I'm like, for real? It was like, yeah. I said, okay, cool. It was like, you got to take that part off your mind. And when they told me that word, the only thing that comes to my mind is, I've been through a lot to the level where, somebody you're trying to put, let me put it like this. When you have somebody you're fighting for, and behind you, they're already plotting out to take you off what you're fighting for them. You know what I would say? So having that experience in my own world already gave me enough not to allow anybody saying anything online that's going to get to me, actually. So I don't think people's comment online is something that really have no effect on me. Nah, anything you say, I catch cruise, man. If you see me talking, replying you, it doesn't even get in my head because I've mastered how to realize that everybody's entitled to his own word and you must respect it, either good or bad. So in respect of whatever you're telling me, I only pick, sometimes bad people will say good things in your life because bad people are the only one that critically look at you to bring the fault out of you. People that praise you don't bring anything out of you because they are clouded with the love and whatever you're giving them that they don't do. And if they ever do, trust me, it's going to become envy. It's not no more real. So your enemy are the only people that really like you, that will look deep and tell you the mistakes in your life. So, but for me, I don't really, so when I say anybody say any bad thing, I just laugh. Like, okay, I like that. Even most of the time, people say bad things to me on Twitter, I still go ahead and put love emoji. I like it. So that I say hello to what you say, that makes sense. So I don't think anything online can get to me. Nah, I don't.
Okay, okay. So, last thing I want to ask you would be, how is it that you're able to, able to connect with your audience? Like, how is you able to balance the new generation, which are the Gen Zs of, these, and the old generation? How are you able to just be in the middle and, vibe with everybody and give them the ginger and everything? Like, how are you able to do that? Like, doesn't it mess with your mentality
Uh,
or something?
Thank you for that. I'm gonna say this like I do say. Oyebanji is a name where a lot of people doesn't know,
Mm.
and not because they have to know it, but basically of what I'm doing is a must for you to know me now. Like, and the reason why I use those first lines is to tell you like the only way you can grow is to learn.
Mm.
And the art of learning is to not to put a barricade in who you're learning from.
Mm.
A lot of people put a line in between who they can teach and who can't teach them. And I wonder, I found myself in this space of world. I only found myself through going through my pain.
Mm.
And I would tell you the first time I ever think of doing something bad to myself, the person that talked me out of it was the most youngest person I would ever think. But he was able to tap into my mind and he understood exactly what I wanted to do. And he told me like, don't tell me you're about to do what I think you want to do. So as at that time, if somebody could really pass through my thoughts to understand that word without me telling them, give me the respect to see, to realize that God has given everybody equality. It doesn't matter your age. You might be surprised that somebody young might have went through a lot through a mom while he or she is in the womb. And they will come out with some imaginable, like you're like, how the hell you come up with this?
Mm.
And for me, I think I'm just being lucky to realize that pain humble me. I always tell people I'm this very humble guy outside. A couple of years back, I'm no humble inside of me. And I could tell you fact. And when I said I'm not humble inside, is because I already put, and this is for everybody listening to this, like there's a lot of people that act like they're really, really real, but deep down they are not. So it's the same replica of saying, when you're humble outside, learn to be humble inside of you too. It's like he's opened a connection with some people that will just randomly tell you things you will never think about. So that part of me opened door for young people to come around me, and all they need to do is to tell me two things and three things. I always want to be more open-minded to make sure whatever you're telling me, I'm going back to research, and I don't get tired of reading. So when you show me A, is enough. We're in a time where you could go to Google, you could go to YouTube, and restructure that A. Like, how can I get to A? And I can promise you, somebody have done it before.
Mm.
So that opened my mind to start connecting to the Gen Z. And for my own set of crowd, people, I think pain of life, of spending time with people wanted to make me to understand them. So I don't even understand. I have, this is not like I'm trying to brag. The knowledge I have is from the people that are older than me,
Mm.
not my own age. And people that are older than me find peace in sitting me down, telling them about their story. And when they do tell me, I see the mistakes in their own way and how I could make sure I don't go into it. So having the opportunity to understand that word, having to mingle with the Gen Z, I could combine it and be able to interpret for both parties.
Mm.
So when I write, it find it easy for me to be able to still listen to Gen Z music without not feeling like I'm being bothered, because I've been able to control my thought to the level where I don't get triggered about things that I know are wrong. And how somebody of my age might want to perceive to talk to a Gen Z, I might not talk to them like that, because I would tell you like what you're saying might be wrong, because these people, I know what you think it is. So I think those are the things that I've been able to balance in my world, and that has given me edge a lot, because I have a lot of Gen Z friends that do talk to me. Don't disrespect me, I don't mind,
Mm.
because at the end of the day, it's what I'm gaining from you. And for me, I always tell people, for every intention, for every connection, there's intention. And what that means is, for everybody me I meet in my life, I want to learn something from you. I just don't want you to be around. If you're about to be around me, then I'm not learning anything. I'll just stop hanging out with you. Being young, old, anyhow, female, male, there's one thing I want to appreciate in your life that I can learn from. So doing that gives room for people to want to teach me more too. Because when I acknowledge your gift, it makes you to feel like, oh, you really see that? I'm like, yes. So that gives them the free mind to share more.
Mm.
And I think that's how I got to where I am, because collective effort of people sharing their pain, their past, that I've learned in the United States is beyond what I can even tell the world. And sometimes I see those people's stories and I combine into mine, and that's what I used to write my review. So that's how I come about writing my review, in people's stories that I've heard, that I know for a fact is real, and my own pain. I started every time I watch a movie or listen to music, I'm seeing how whoever that's writing a movie or writing the music is trying to interpret their own pain. Because if you look at so much movie and music, especially music, most of it are just half of their lifestyle, half of their pain, and half of what they want to become in future. So a lot of people dance to music without realizing that most artists are stuck in their pain, and that's what they write about. While some artists are talking about their present life, and that's what they write about. While some artists are talking about the future they want. And why some people can combine the three in a way where you'll be speechless, like, damn, how do you come up with this? So knowing people sharing their pain with me, having my own pain and learning from it and seeing positive in people always give me an open mind to listen to music, and I can just interpret it like, this is what they're trying to say. This is what this guy is trying to say. This is what this writer is trying to say, because the writer that write this movie is perceiving a message for us. There was a time there was no car that drive itself. They've already tell us in the movie. Yeah, we have a car that drive itself. So somebody has been seeing the future before us that we don't even know, but they put it in the movie so that we can see a little bit. And even though it's not real, then we've ignited somebody to think like that to do it. So I've had this in me more than 10, 15 years until when I have, yes, I've always seen things like that. And I've listened to a lot of Nigerian, I would say people like Two-Face. I do tell people, like, if you listen to Two-Face back-to-back album, it's about his life. And a lot of people doesn't even know. Some people just vibe to it. Some people just do this. And for me, so when I have Twitter to start expressing it, it just give me more, based on the result I'm getting, I feel more open-minded to keep making sure every time I write it, like I said, I'm into class, I'm doing music producer just to understand more about music. Because everything I'm writing is just from my own life experience. But I want to be more professional in the sense that, you know, having 3 degrees and having that one to join together with my past experience, and everything will make my job more suitable where people can start relating with it. And so that's how I find myself in this place.
So all I heard from all of our questions and answers is we're gonna be expecting a producer. Too fresh.
No. I don't think I'll produce. It's just like I feel like that would make me to have more critic in how I write about people's music. So that I just don't write it from my own flame of head without not having no fact. So now there's a lot of things that I know when it comes to music that a lot of people that might not even know. And, you know, having to understand from the producer perspective would give me more edge to understand when I'm writing reviews about it. So somebody will look at me and say, what do you even know about me? So I'm like, are you really, really about to, you know? So that's just what that is all about. It's not like I want to produce music.
Okay. But we did wait. So this is very interesting facts that we learned today in this podcast.
Oh yeah, thank you. You dragged me on a journey I wasn't planning to go, but it's all good, man.
But we have to know who the CEO of CTD Among Blacks.
Yeah. And the mix of US and Nigeria.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask you, which is gonna be my last question, is how did you come up with that hashtag mix of US and Nigeria?
Oh, thank you very, very much for that. I think somebody asked me on Twitter too, and I did put it and explain it. I said the reason why I have those two is growing up from Nigeria. For me, I was being privileged to go to white school, and I've already have this Western word in me actually. And you know, I've always have this question that I want to know a lot. So my parents are middle class; they're not rich, they're not poor. So they were able to give me the life while I was young to start watching American movie, you know. And I was privileged again to have a friend. Shout out to Elijah Damilola, wherever he might be. So me and Dami will always be the one that, you know, we always want to watch American movie and pause to learn how to speak. So that when we go out, we can talk together. Like, you know, what's up? How you doing? So we've been doing that. And I think Elijah Damilola helped me more when it comes to listen to more of R&B music. So just this with New Houston, but then he started putting all these big names, Ray J, Joe, it's a lot of them, Tupac, so many names that I don't like. I'm more like local music back home. So it's like, man, like his slang is, sabi. So I started developing a habit of listening to those songs while I was still with him, and we become so friends and close. And he helped me more. He doesn't even know. I've already have how I interpret music in me actually. So when I started listening to American music from Nigeria, it was doing a lot of help. So coming to America finally to be living here, I started doing more of listening to a lot of American music, and I realized half of the song is almost the same life we have back home. So and I met a lot of Nigerian American here that was born here that want to relate to people back home, but they don't know how to do it. And I've heard the question where like every time they find themselves in Nigeria community, there's a way they look at them like they don't belong there. And when you come from Nigeria down to America and you started dressing like Western people, there's a way Nigerian people will look at you. They feel like you don't deserve to be Nigerians anymore because you're losing it. So I don't even know how. There was a day I was just thinking in my head. I said, I started writing all those things. How can I even make it my own? How can I hone everything I'm writing that anywhere I go to, this is me. I said, you know what? I've had Oyebanji Akins. I have O2 Fresh, O Fresh. I'm like, nah, that doesn't work. And I can't even recall what I was watching that day. And somebody talked about it on Instagram, like, they've done something in advance where by the time you click in it's a big, I'm like, you know what, that makes sense. I could start my own hashtag. Then I wasn't even thinking it's going to become like this. I said, I want to own it where everything I'm writing now online, I got to end it with mix of US and Nigeria. And how I come about, I said, I'm a Nigerian. I have some trail about United States of America in me now. And that makes me mix. So for anybody out there that might feel like, okay, I have this two part of me and the world doesn't understand, then you're part of me now. So I started saying like, okay, you know what? I started using that mix of US and Nigeria hashtag on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter. I'm like, which one of them is going to blow is going to blow. I don't care what it is. So then when the impressions start coming in, it becomes where when you go to Google, there was a day I went to Google and I just put mix of US and Nigeria, like, boom. I said, dang. So in my head, it took me a while though. I didn't expect everything is going to turn out. And, last year I did almost like 26 million impression on Twitter. So that means mix of Nigeria is all over like 26 million because those are the people that have been able to see that name, that hashtag. And when I see that, I tell myself like, the main thing I would tell anybody that I want to try the same thing is consistency actually. One thing I've learned in my Twitter world that I didn't understand in my clothing brand that I'm trying to implement more on the podcast for every team member that I have, it's about consistency. It's not about what you're selling. It's not about your gift. It's not about your talent. It's just about consistency. Consistency is when I know you're going to be there by 10 and you're there by 10 every day. Over time, psychologically, my mind is programmed that by 10, you're going to do this. So that's one thing I've learned from Twitter, and I think that's what makes me to be where I am. It's not about like I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything that I feel like is, but yeah, I am. I don't even have the followers, but my impression goes more than people that have followers. And there's nothing to it than saying what I've been saying and just keeping consistency of at least, if I'm correct, 8 months or 9 months of doing the same thing. There was a time I only tweet one time in a day. And like one of my friends told me, he said, when God is ready to bless you, it's not what you're doing, it's just your time. You might do anything you like that doesn't make sense. And I look at myself like I don't even tweet more than 2 or 3 times. 2 times, actually. If I reply some people with my tweet, it's just 2 times a day. And I'm making the numbers more than people that really tweet. That doesn't make sense. And if you ask me what I think I'm doing, nothing expect saying for anybody that might be listening to this, because I think we've dragged this particular episode, it's just to let you realize that consistency is the key. It's not the talent. It is not a gift. It is not what you know. It is not who you know. It's about how you can keep up that consistency. Because my consistency have cost me a lot. When I say it has cost me a lot, it has tested my faith, my time. I found myself where I was in a hotel, I would drive like 20 minutes away just to be able to post at the actual time I'm supposed to post. So I think that's one thing I've learned. And to anybody that might be listening to me, consistency is the key that I will tell you to. And one more thing is, for every connection, ask yourself what is your intention. It will help you to know how to move. If you don't know your intention towards what you want to do, don't even do it. Don't even bother to do it. My intention was to become that name that could be added to all the big names in the world. And, that's what I'm holding on to. And that's where I am today, and being able to have my Google. Like, if you check me on Wikipedia and I exist, it's not something I thought it would happen. But I think my consistency, belief, hard work, and not allowing my past pain to take over my mind has been the key word. And I only say this for everybody that don't let me use the word fucked with me. They only did me a great thing to realize that I can handle some pain I never thought I will. And, handle those pain in a positive way without not even hating them or judging them, to realize they too are trying to figure it out in their own world. So it's me giving them too much pass for them to ride on my own world that make me go through the pain. So I did appreciate that they make use of it in a way where I can realize who I am. And that's where I am today to become Oyebanji Akins. And, Ruby ETK, thank you very much for this particular episode. It's been lovely. I really appreciate the fact that you dragged me on the journey I didn't even thought. So for anybody that might listen to this episode, now you know more about Oyebanji Akins. Now you understand where I'm coming from. Now you understand where I'm heading to. And the goal is to make sure for everybody that might find themselves in between the mix of US and Nigeria can join the hashtag. And that's the main goal. That's the fan base, actually. And for every part of my CTD Among Blacks, crew, team, I really appreciate the part we've put into it. And the main goal that we always say is connecting the dots. And I think we've been able to connect the dots about Oyebanji Akins through the ETK. And for you listening to us, you can follow us on all our social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube is CTD Among Blacks. And for our website, where we now in 2024, we have a blog where you can check us out, and some other things I'll be giving out for free to you. Can always, put your email there. I will give you some basic things to start. If you want to be a podcaster and you don't know what to do, I have a free ebook that will tell you what to do and how to go by it and the basic things you need to know. So go on to our website, is www.ctdamongblacks.com to understand, and you might catch up on anything and to get to know everything about us. I remain Oyebanji Akins, and I will allow BTK to give me his last word, before we put everything to an end.
Well, thank you for having me on your podcast, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask all these questions to know who Oyebanji Akins is. This is Ruby ETK, your co-host for this episode. Hoping we're gonna come back for another episode. More questions coming for you. Hot seat.
I'm done with the question. Thank you very much, Ruby ETK. And my name is Oyebanji Akins. And like I always say, it might not make sense to you right now. It might not make sense to them right now. But I can promise you, if you keep doing what you're doing, it's definitely going to make sense. Stay happy, stay blessed, and believe in your dreams. And I can promise you, it's definitely going to be your own time. Thank you very much. I'll see you on the next episode.